Well, and that kind of brings up another point. When I'm looking at different code that people have done, sometimes they use exception handling where they could have used a conditional. So they say, do this thing if there's an exception, and even they use branching logic. If it's this type of exception, do this code. If this type of exception, do this code. I actually don't like doing that. And the main reason is from a performance basis because
Mm-hmm.
conditionals are much faster than exceptions. And again, just it again goes to my definition of an exception in that you shouldn't be using that code when you're expecting something to happen or if it's a known code path. Like I could be
Right.
getting back a 404 or I can't remember some of the others, 401 or whatever the different response codes are. I would want to put that in a conditional. If it's this, then do this. If it's this, then do this, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to catching an exception and then saying, okay, is handling it that way.
Right. Yeah,
But I
and
have seen people use code as exception code as branching logic, and ugh,
yeah,
I don't
that's
like that.
yeah. There are very few cases. I'm not sure I can come up with a specific example of one, but I know that I have in my career have run up with one or two cases where it was appropriate to do like a catch this particular type of error, and if it's this, do this other thing instead. But that's like you say, that's an anti-pattern, and you've probably got something else goofy in your design if you're doing that. Um, so, if you see a lot of try catch in code, run. But there's probably some design issues, or there's a lack of attention to detail that tells you we've got code that's always expecting happy path and doesn't know what to do when a user does something that's an inch to one side or the other. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's dangerous. You should, and that's part of what testing is for, is finding these non-happy pathways so that you can make sure that they're handled. And of course, you can't find every exception before you put out your product. I mean, that's just not possible because you can't reproduce every user's way of using it on every different system with every different browser in every different country and what time zones and all that stuff. You can't. But what you shouldn't do is just say, okay, I'm going to assume that somebody's going to screw something up, so I'll just catch it and swallow it. That's a bad idea. So overall, I would say limit very much your use of rescue, catch, try, accept, whatever the structure is in your language. To and if you do end up doing one of those, think very hard about, should I be doing this, or should I be expecting something specific to happen here that's off the path and I should just handle it. Right? Like checking for nil things before I check for a property of something, or using the
yeah.
safe pathing in Rails and Ruby and stuff. But don't just put all your code in there and say, well, if something's nil, I'll just catch it and throw it away. No, because then you're going to catch actual problems and throw those away too. So yeah, be a little careful with those structures, and think real hard if you put that, because usually that's a sign that I should be thinking about this a little bit more. I probably haven't handled enough here in my code.
Yeah, I rarely use the rescue features of Ruby
Yeah,
or try and catch in other languages. I mean, that's a definitely rarity, me using that.
yeah, and it should be. I mean, it has a place. I'm not saying you never use it. There are places where that's proper, but that should be The use of that should be an exception.
Exceptional.
Yeah.
If you like this clip and want to watch another one, you can click right here. Or if you want to watch the full video, you can click here.